I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and today is May 6th, 2022, and we're smack dab in the middle of Heartfelt Sew Along, and that is a sew along that we do every year. Right now we have raised over $82,000 for Make-A-Wish. Kevin and I will donate $20,000. Mark Dunn from Moda Fabrics will be donating $10,000, and so we're just raising money. So today, if you feel inclined, you can definitely donate to our Make-A-Wish link, which is in the description box. But today we're going to focus on the free pattern that was released last Friday. It is release 4, and this is actually the easiest part of the entire quilt. These, you're going to be making 5 different blocks, but they are just really small and tiny, and the only technique you need to use is corner squares, which is super easy. So I'm going to jump in and start cutting, and any questions you guys have, just let me know and I will answer them, and I'll kind of talk through kind of what I'm doing. But I'm going to start with the background fabric. And on the background fabric, I have it layered and ironed. And for A and B, I need 2 3.5-inch strips for A, 2 1.5-inch strips for B. So I'm going to cut those first. And these are going to be corner squares, so they do need to be pretty accurate, or your corner squares are going to look funny. So I'm going to do a straightening cut first. And then I'm going to cut at the 3.5. So that's my 3.5. I'll move this a little bit, cut a 1.5, and then I'll be done with my background for the day, unless I make a mistake. So I will just kind of roll this up, and this will go right in my box. And I'll talk about my storage and how I have everything in my box in a little bit. So from here, I'm going to just turn these. And since these are 3.5-inch squares, the easiest thing to do is just use a Creative Grids 3.5-inch square ruler, so you don't have to look at the lines. Just make sure you have all your, this one has a deep selvage, so do that, turn it around and cut. And then I always use the Creative Grids small square rulers, so I need 20, so I'm going to need to cut 5 of these because there's 4 in each stack. And next week, I'm going to have a really exciting video for you. Next week, I'm going to do a video on packing for a quilt retreat and different things to look for, different things to do. So that's going to be really fun. So you have that to look forward to. Now, what I'm going to do before I put them on the design board is I'm going to put them all the same direction. Now, I do need to draw lines on the wrong side of these, but if I put these all the same direction, it'll save me time when I do that. So we've got that. So those are my A's. And then my B's, I need 40 1.5-inch squares. And you can get 26 from one strip, so that means I need 10. So I'm just making sure I didn't cut any of the selvage. And here I'm gonna cut at the 3-inch and then the 1.5. So let's see. The chicken salad templates will be in stock later in the summer. I believe June or July. Okay, so I need 10 of these, so let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll just put this in my box. So now I'm going to put all these face up, or all one direction, and then I'm going to draw some lines on the wrong side of a couple of these for when we get to the block. And remember, this one's super easy. And sometimes when you're working on a quilt and you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so easy, then you get sloppy because you think, oh, I can just run through this. So even though it's an easy block, still take your time so it doesn't get too crazy, because that's what I do sometimes, is I just get ahead of myself and, oh, I can get this done real quick, and then I get sloppy. So and the reason I do this is I'm notorious for sewing the wrong sides together, and because I use such a small seam allowance, it's hard to take out. Yesterday I was sewing and I swear I could not get the seam ripper to work. So on the wrong side, I'm going to draw on the wrong side of 4 fabric A's, because I'm going to be making 2 of these. I like to use a friction pin. It really depends on your preference, but I like to do a friction pin. So, and this is something, if you have small kids, if you have a husband who's in trouble, you can have them do it. Mine wouldn't do it, but my kids will do it. These I need 8. Am I watching Dateline or 2020? I will probably watch Dateline. I don't know what the subject is, but I usually watch Dateline live, and then I have Hulu, and I'll watch 2020 on Hulu. But I need some good TV because I'm kind of out of stuff. Why doesn't Kimberly ever use the black 1/2-inch measurements? I don't know. I don't know. I just follow the ruler. Okay, so I've got that done. And now we have to cut my hearts. Now on here we have 10 different fabrics, and we need to cut from each fabric 2 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. So we actually have a 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle. So ruler, it's by Creative Grids. Now I have everything pulled out of my box and ironed, and you're gonna see there's lots of different shapes and lots of different sizes left, but I'm gonna start with my 2 smallest. This is all that's left of these 2. Since I need 2 each, I'm gonna put them right sides together, and then I don't have to think. I just put my ruler on here. And then right here I got a little. And then I'll put that in my box. And I will, as I cut them, kind of put the 2 together that go together. It's not going to matter actually, but it just, to make sure, so I can easily see where they're at. If I put them on here and then stack them, I can easily find the fabric. Now, the next couple of fabrics are here, and I'm going to look at them, and they're all about the same size. So, on this bottom corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a chunk. I'm going to get them nice and flat like they were. And I am going to cut, I'm going to cut a little bit up because I want to make sure I get the salvages off. So that'll be one. And then I'll cut another one here. And I'm cutting through a lot of layers, but I tend to do that when I have the endurance blade on. when I'm doing a straightening cut, do I line my ruler on the fold? Only if I'm doing a border cut or binding or something that is going to actually use that. Otherwise, I don't. So it depends, I guess, what it is that I'm cutting, but that is a great question. I probably went through too many layers here. So then what I'll do here is, I'm just going to fold these back up so that they go back in my box. And that I can easily find them. And then when I'm done, maybe at the end when we're doing the finishing video, maybe I can show you how whatever I have left over, how I cut it up and save the scraps. So, or actually maybe I'll just do string blocks and show you Lori's method of string blocks that's in her new book. And that would be great with these. So I'll try to remember that I'm going to do that. And then in my box right here, what I have is just my background fabrics. I have a lot of really small pieces of background that I'm going to keep because I might need this. And then everything is just folded individually. And here I've already cut my sashing and my borders. And I have them labeled with alphabetties. Keep that small piece with my background. And then here I'm going to just keep stacking my fabrics. Like I said, it's easy to find them when I do this. Otherwise, I'm just like rifling through. It's like a stack of papers or something. Have I tried the new Creative Grids rotary cutter? It's heavy. I have not. And the reason why is I am really bad with rotary cutters. And the only one that I've been able to use all these years is this ergonomic. If I went somewhere and didn't have this ergonomic, I would cut myself. So I have not tried it, but it's because I just don't trust myself to not cut myself. But it is very heavy, and I think it's for, I think there's a reason it's heavy. I'm not exactly sure what the reason is, though. Okay, this one, I have a lot of the red. I'm going to just do this kind of thing and cut there. And then, as you see, with having a little ruler that's the same size, it just makes it super easy. And it does come a little bit wasteful, so you might not want to do it this way, but we always give plenty of fabric in our kits so that you can do funny cuts like this. And then I'll chop that off. And I'll actually chop this off because that's way too small to save. I mean, I guess you could use it, but that might be a little stretch. So we've cut all of our fabrics. I have not tried AccuCut. I love cutting, so I know for sure I would never use that product because I love to cut. So it would take the fun out of cutting for me. Okay, and then I have this in here, which I'm going to be using. I am going to show you some tips, so I'm going to use this in a little bit. So I'll leave that out. So from here, we're going to pull another design board the same size. And then there should be 20 rectangles total, so 10 times 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I got it all right. And then what I'm going to do is go to this page, and we're going to do the first block. And the first block is these two fabrics. So I'm going to, let's see. Hopefully we can see it all. Just kind of move it a little bit. So I'm going to pull this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one. Okay, so one thing to think about, I'm going to show you a trick here. First, I'm going to lay my fabrics the way they show. So we're going to have one that goes this way, and then I'm going to show you a little trick that I have, and then one that goes this way. And then we're going to do the tops also, and I'm going to show you a trick. 2, 3, and I would do this with I would be doing all of mine at one time actually. Okay, so then I will do the rest of these tonight, and I will leave them on this design board, and what I'll do is put another design board on top, put a little rubber band, and then take that home. But what I wanted to show you is, well, first let me show you this one. This one's easy because this is all solid. So I'm going to pull this a little bit closer so I can see it. I'm going to use glue because this is like the newest thing that I'm like in love with. And when I do this, I will do all of them at one time, and by the time I get to the sewing machine, the glue will be dried because I'll do all 20. Or all 40, I guess. But I do have a tip on the ones that have a lot of white in it. And it's probably something that most of you guys are going to be like, oh, that's so silly. Why would you do that? But I'm going to show it to you anyway. So, and with the glue, you can maneuver it so that you get it right in the right spot. Okay, so on here, I am not a fan of fabrics that have all this white stuff. This one's fine because it doesn't have too much white. So this one will just go on like normal. Right here. You'll notice when I make quilts, I never use medium prints ever. And if you look at what Camille from Thimble Blossom does, she always uses medium prints. I always love her quilts, but I'm just too scared to use medium. Okay, so here, when you're looking at this one, well, I'll put these on because these don't matter. These aren't going to affect it. Okay, so there's a lot of white there. So I intentionally did that so that this is hidden, because if you did it on this side, you wouldn't even see a difference. So I intentionally put this one here so that there will be more of a gray line here. So if you guys have tried the seam align glue, let me know what you think. And I don't ever iron the glue because if I do, my lines will come off because I use friction pins. So that's one thing I don't do. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make sure I've got it all in the right spot. And I'm going to stitch directly on the drawn line and come right back and answer all your questions. But doing this is simplifying all of these steps right here all at once. And then we'll do this step all at once and this step. And then I'm going to give you some tips on assembling the quilt. Now we are going to do a finishing video, but this is just like if you want to get ahead. So here I have an open toe foot. And I'm going to just, I could chain piece if I wanted to, so I could do that. Okay, I think the stitch length is too long, so I made it a little bit smaller. That one fell off. Okay, so I do want to show you one thing when you're working with corner squares. So let me cut this little thread off first. When you're working with corner squares and you press, it should be even here, and it should be a 90-degree angle here, and this shouldn't overhang. But I am going to show you a tip that you can use if it does overhang. And this should go right to the tip, and that should go right to the tip. So you should end at both corners. But I'll show you a little tip when I'm done ironing. So almost done. So from here, you're going to cut a 1/4 inch away, and now you can see all the glue is gone. I'm going to throw the glue away. Just make sure when you're gluing that you don't glue to where you're going to have some in here, because then you'll have glue in your quilt. So I'm just going to cut those. Is this project for a real beginner? This project is great for beginners because all of the pieces are bigger. The hardest block, I will tell you, is next month's block. The next 2 months are pretty hard. And it's not that they're hard, it's that they have the most number of pieces. And if you keep your alphabets out and everything labeled, it's going to be easier because all of our patterns are written so well with the letters. So as long as you can stay a little bit organized, I think it'll go good. How do I keep my glue tip from getting blocked up? I put this on it every time I'm done. This little lid, and if it stopped up, I just put a pin in it, but mine doesn't ever stop up. Of course, it probably will now that I said it won't, just because I have had really bad luck lately. I have a story I'll tell y'all at the end, and I am like, I can't even believe, I'm like, okay, this is proof that I have really, this is not my year. So this is how they're going to look when you put them together. Now what you can do, you can press all of this open. If you do that, you don't have to follow instructions on the arrows, but I'm going to follow the pattern. So I'm going to do the 2 left at one time. Those are these. The 2 right at one time, and those are these. And I'm going to use my little ironing board and set my seams. And then this one's going to press out. So just follow your pattern. And I'm going to let it sit a little bit. Does Piggy stay in my room when he quilts? If he's being good, yes. If he's being bad, no. He prefers to sit in the living room so that he can look at the cars go by. So it depends. Sometimes he'll sit there. At night, he'll usually sit there. During the day, he usually wants to leave and go sit in the living room. Or go wherever my kids are. I need to know what you're watching lately. Okay, I'll do some at the end. Don't let me forget. I'll do some at the end. I don't have very many great recommendations, though. There's not that much out there. Right now I'm watching about the lady who got the inmate to escape. She's crazy. What is she thinking? She should have watched Danamore on HBO to know what's going to happen. I think he's going to kill her. So I'm just following the arrows on the pattern. Have I revisited the Stripology ruler? It seems like it would be better if you would start, you normally get in a jelly roll. I haven't used the Stripology ruler. People love it. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't like it. I like to cut. About endurance blades. I changed the blade a week ago, but I feel like it's a little dull. I only cut when I trim seams. How often do I change my blade? All the time. I change it at least twice a week. So here what I'm going to do is show you how you can trim this up to make it perfect again, because a little bit of my corner squares came out wrong. And then that'll just kind of do that. And that's probably also because of the pressing, partly. And this is a totally, like, you don't have to do this step. This is just me being crazy. I do this kind of stuff all the time. When I purchased the Heartfelt kit, I also purchased the simple folded ruler. When will I use it? Oh, okay, I'll show you. You know what? I'll put that on my list to show you in the next video. I did show it, though, in the first video. Would you talk about my steam fast iron? Okay, so I'm using the Oliso iron on the set. I haven't tried the steam fast. I'm going to try the reliable. Doug Lico's mailing me one to try. But for me, I use a lot of steam and a lot of heat. So as long as my iron is steaming and heating, then I'm good. Okay. So yeah, this step is totally not necessary, but. So just have like a little bit of straps. So then, really easy now. Is put your hearts together. So for here, and actually I can do the whole thing at one time when I'm at the sewing machine. So here I'm going to pin, and you'll see that because of the way we pressed, it will nest and you will feel it. Now, if I was in the mood, I might press these open at home. Who knows what I'll do. I do different things different days. So this nests, and then when we press all of these, we're going to press open. So just nest your seam. And then thank you to Helen for the super chat. Helen Merkus, she sent us Canadian dollars. Yay! Okay, so what I'm going to show you is we're going to go to the sewing machine, sew with a 1/4 inch seam. Then I'm going to have my pins with me, and then I'm going to pin the red heart to the brown heart, or the gray heart, just like this. And then we'll iron, and then I'm going to give you some tips on piecing into rows, and then I'm also going to show you some other blocks and some fun background fabric we just got. So from here, I'm going to change my foot so it's not open toe. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch foot. And when I pull my pins out, I try to pull them out right before I get to them. And then just look to make sure everything looks good. It does. And then the red goes on the left, the gray on the right. And of course, if you assemble any of these with the wrong fabrics on the left or the right, it really doesn't matter. It's going to look good either way. And then I'm just going to. So I guess you guys, we can do a poll and see, do y'all press to one side or do you press open? And it looks good. So now what I'm going to do is show you pressing this open, give you some pressing open tips, and then I'm going to show you how you can attach this to your quilt and keep going if you bought the kit. And that was the bonus of buying the kit up front, was you get the full instructions. Now I'm going to press to one side first. And technically you can leave it just like this if you want. You don't have to press open because you use sashing on all sides. But I'm going to press mine open just because I want to have a little bit less bulk there. So press open. And then I wonder if any of you guys have tried putting the clapper on a quilt block overnight to see how it looks, because I had asked y'all to do that last week and I did it and it was awesome. So if y'all have any specific questions on what to pack for a retreat that you're going to want me to answer next week, definitely put them in the comments so I can make sure I address them. So from here, I'm going to trim up the block, and I would normally use a slightly smaller ruler than this for this, but just get it. I just like to get all the strings off. And this, again, totally optional. Okay. So what I've been doing, I'm going to put this away because now I'm done. Now when I go home, I'm going to take this pattern so that I know exactly where these go. And then if you bought the kit up front, you got these instructions. So what I've been doing as I go, I put the block number, like it says 1, 2, and then I think I stopped putting the block numbers. But I have rows. So this is row 1. So I've already started putting it together. Row 1 starts up here. And then you can see I've already got C here, which is from here. But now what I'm going to do is I need to add this with a C. So I will take this from my box. And there's a lot of bulk here. There's a lot of weight. So what do? So this come iron, so this come iron. So I'm going to do that real quick with my pins. And I always pin when I get to this step because you don't want your quilt to be wavy. And then I'll show you my other rows. Okay, so from here, just stitch with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to set the seam and press toward the background or the sashing, whatever you call it. I use an old cheese board as a clapper. That is awesome. And then your points right here should not be chopped off. And then here, so here's this one. Okay, so now I need to circle this one so I know that I've already done it. When I circle it, that tells me I've already done it. Put this right sides together. And then pin. Probably pin with the straight side up. Any tips on starting a new aurifil spool? I'm stuck on a spool where end is hidden. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll show you. I need to get a clean aurifil spool, but I'll show you where you can, there's a trick for that. Yes. So, I'll find one in a second. Okay. Okay, set my seam, And building your quilt like this is really fun because then when you get to the end, you're pretty much done. You know, you're doing more up front, and then, because I feel like when you get to the end of a quilt, it can become a little bit laborious. So this is row 1. And I have this on a design board. And so put this at the top, that's 1. This is row 2. So I have this part done, and then the bottom part is done. So I have it on top of each other so I can find 2. Now what I'll do is when I sew this, I'll add this together, circle it and add that, but I'm going to keep them in order. So this is 2. This is 3. So I'll be able to add this to the top, and I just keep all of them on there. So 4. 5. Oh, this is 4, sorry. So I just keep them and I just add. So these are gonna go home with me today, and then I'm gonna finish them, and then, so if that doesn't make sense, let me know. But basically, as I sew a block, I'm adding the sashing in between and keeping them on boards 1 through 5. And if you just keep them in order, they're gonna stack and they're gonna stay together. And then you can just keep these on either like a whatever you store your stuff in, or on top, or however, just keep them together. And then next month we will show you how to do the next couple of blocks, and it looks really nice. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. Now on Aurifil spools, when they come, you can twist the bottom, and your thread is right there. And that's a tip if you're gonna go like to a retreat or something, you don't want your thread to unravel, you can put it back up here and put this on here. So that's how you get the thread out. Now, this doesn't work on the small spools, only the large ones. Okay, so now I'm going to answer questions, and then I'm going to show blocks. Retreat. What is my goal when I attend retreats? To learn a new skill, finish projects, meet new people. Okay, so I don't go to retreats very often. I'm going to go to one this summer, and my goal is to just sew as much as possible so that I, when I go home, can actually like maybe watch TV instead of working. But that's my goal. Now, some people go to a retreat where there's a teacher and they teach you things. So it's really up to you and your like individual like goals. Do I write on a pattern with a friction pen and then iron it off? No. Yet I write all over my patterns, and when I'm done with my quilt, I throw them away because I'm never going to make another quilt twice. And if I am, I'll just buy another one because I am so scatterbrained. And I have so many projects going. If I saved my patterns, I would never be able to find them. I can barely find the projects I'm working on because I have so much. So I throw them away. How about a video about different types of feet? I know each machine is different, but general guidelines would be helpful, or just to know what might be available. Okay. Does the friction pin come back in cold? It does, but I live in Texas where it's hot, so I don't have to worry about it. Do I recommend a rolling machine holder? There's so many mixed reviews. It depends. I probably will just throw my machine in the back of my car. But that is a good point. The one that I have that I did use one time, I got at Joann's, and it was very inexpensive. And the design board I was using today, that's at 18 inches. I just looked at it, but they come in 7, 10, 12, 18, 14. Is the layout and the cross stitch the same as the quilt? Yes. And if you want to see anything I'm doing on cross stitch, we also have a cross stitch channel called Fat Quarter Shop Floss Tube that you can always go subscribe. We'd love to see you there too. Now I'm going to show you some blocks real quick of different fabrics. It's the ones that I just showed you. And our goal in this is just to show you that you can use any fabrics to make this charity quilt. This fabric collection is Seashore Drive by Sherry and Chelsea. It just came in stock. And these were made by Carrie, and she is using, she's hand stitching some accent stitches on top. So these are Carrie's blocks. The next blocks use the collection Flirt, which is a Sweetwater collection. And Elva made these, and I love that Elva starched. So she has a lot of starch on these, they look good. So these are Elva's blocks. The next ones are individual blocks. Bonjour du jour by French General. I'm sure I said that wrong. Lori made these, and she's going to put them together. And all of these that I'm showing you at the very end of the sew along, they will be sewn into a complete quilt so I can show you. This is French General, and these are all Moda fabrics. So nice and pretty. And we did load a couple of things on the website. We have Moda released their collection yesterday. So if you want to see what's coming out from Moda, it was loaded last night. The collections were. Now the kits will come a little bit later because I haven't met with my Moda sales rep yet. But new Bonnie and Camille, all kinds of new Fig Tree, French General, all kinds of new fabrics coming out. So definitely check those out. This is One Fine Day fabric by Bonnie and Camille, and Riley made these. I love this collection. And I did want to zoom in and show you, I noticed on all of these, she made the arrows go the same way on all of her blocks. So that's like something I totally would do. So they look really nice and clean. And then the next set of blocks we have are from the collection Love Note by Layla Boutique. And Deborah made these. And I love this background. So those are different blocks from different designers. And then another thing I wanted to tell you was Kevin put a lot of fabrics on sale. So if you go to the sale page, he is going to be adding every night something different. I can't guarantee on the weekend he will, but the other nights he will. So he put 1,500 items on sale. So he wanted you to check that out. And then I wanted to show you this. I'm so excited about this. April Rosenthal designed a basic, and the camera just doesn't do it justice. But this is red, white, and blue with silver. So this would actually look great as a backing on the quilt I did last week, the 1 hour Jolly Bar quilt. And these are going to be just a basic. I'm hoping that we get these to sell enough to where Moda will keep the basics. There's also some bright colors, but I like the backgrounds just to keep them in. So this one is Halloween. It's got silver, orange, black. This is Christmas, red, green, gold. And then, of course, my favorite is the white on white. So it's like, it kind of looks like a dot in person, but it's definitely a star. So I'm definitely gonna probably get a bolt of the white on white. The SKU is 24106, and then you'll just see the description. I'm gonna answer. So throw in any questions you have. I'm gonna say thank you for the super chats, and then I'll tell you a couple stories. So, super chat. Okay, it depends if you press to one side 62%, press to one side 25%, and press open 11%. Wow, that's pretty good. Bonita Dance, kudos to Ashley and the FQS crew for managing all of our comments and questions. Yes, thank you. Valeria Bauer, she sent us a little super pair. Thank you. And then Angie, she says, do I have any kits left? I don't. And we are currently working on the charity quilt design for next year. So we'll be focusing on that. Do I cut off all the fraying of the French General blocks? How come some fabrics fray more than others? Okay, I'm going to show you a difference in 2 blocks. And I'm going to show you just different styles of people's piecing. So this person who made this, she doesn't starch and she doesn't trim. So she has fraying. Now, let's see another one. This person starched and trimmed. Now, I bet she doesn't trim it down. So some people sew this way, some people sew this way. I think it's totally fine. Whatever brings you joy is what I would do. If it was me, I would trim the block and I would have starched. But a lot of people don't want to starch because it's bad for the environment. And they just don't have time. So it's totally up to you, whatever you do. And if you go to a retreat, one thing you'll notice is everyone sews very differently. So you'll see people that sew like me and they're like super, but you will definitely learn from other people at a retreat because you'll see like techniques that other people do. So I'll talk now. Let's see, I'll tell a story and then I'll talk about true crime. I know some of you hate that. So first, I have really bad luck. I bought this car. It was like my dream car. Totaled it within like 6 months. Wasn't my fault. Got a new car. Everything is wrong with this car. I hate the car. I cannot wait till my lease is up. I can never buy in a car from this dealer. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I hate this car. It has so many things wrong with it. And yesterday, okay, last October, I broke the windshield. It was my fault that time. I was driving fast. So that's totally my fault. I called the dealership and said, I have the warranty for windshield coverage, so I need to get a new windshield. And he's like, no, you don't have the coverage. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, no, I looked, you don't. So I paid for the windshield. It was $1,000-something. Got it reimbursed from my car insurance. Okay, great. That's fine. Tuesday, somebody asked me to go to lunch. Nobody ever asked me to go to lunch. I went to lunch. Went to my favorite Starbucks. There was some construction. Came back to my car in the afternoon. Windshield broke. So I started thinking, I bet I have that windshield wiper coverage or windshield coverage. So I called and I said, hey, look, and I was like very nice, but I was like, I've had a lot of problems with your service department. I've asked for this part that's been broken on it ever since the car came. Y'all have never ordered it. Like, I'm pretty much done with you guys. I just need my windshield fixed. But I think I have windshield coverage. And this guy said I didn't, but I think I do. So they look it up. I have windshield coverage. So I'm like, well, that's another strike on your dealership because y'all are totally unethical and totally made me buy a windshield before. So he was very helpful and he gave me my policy number. I had my everything. He said, call, and we'll order your windshield. Okay, now when I bought it before in October, it was $1,200. Yesterday, $2,472 for a new windshield. So I called to get my insurance claim. My car is a 3-year lease. When they put the insurance coverage, they put 2 years on it. It expired April 28th. I don't have coverage. So now I have to buy another windshield. I am never buying that car again. I'm like, how is the windshield keep breaking, first of all? Anyway, I'm so frustrated. I'm afraid it's like so cracked. I'm like, if this breaks when I'm in the car, that's what I'm worried about. Like, I'm not driving that car this weekend because I'm like, if this breaks, that would be my luck. So anyway, I'm super frustrated because the first time they should have got me a new windshield. They didn't. Now it expired 4 days before I broke it. Nobody told me and I'm one of those people, I read all the stuff. I pay attention. So and I was like, well, that's funny how my car payment hasn't gone down, but my insurance has. And they're like, oh, well, it's just 2 years. I'm like, yeah, you did 2 years so you could make it sound like a better deal than it actually was. I'm totally done. I am like so frustrated, and I'm gonna have to come up with $2,400 to get me a new windshield so it doesn't break. I'm so frustrated. Do I have a recommendation for an ivory tone-on-tone fabric that I will always keep in stock? Ivory. There are some good Swiss dots that are ivory, and I think that's C660, and they'll have cream in the name. Is the white on white dot closer to color 200? I think this is probably a little bit whiter than color 200. And then as far as things I'm watching on TV, I watched Invisible Pilot on HBO. That was really good. There hasn't been much. I've been watching the news because there's a lady who, like, in Alabama, she helped an inmate escape, and they've been on the run for 7 days. I hope he doesn't kill her. That's what I've been watching. So bad. Janet Ridley, thank you so much for the super chat. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Put any kind of comments you have in the box, and we will answer them. And have a great weekend.